So, a very warm welcome, everyone. Let us begin
Hello.
with, hi, everyone. Hello, Claudia, Juan, Birenji.
Yeah. Hi, Monica. How are you?
Yeah, I am well. How are
Yeah,
you? Good to see you
good.
after long time.
Yeah. How are you, Yuan and Claudia?
Very good, thank you. Here, morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, let us take a few moments with Mother's picture just to gather ourselves inwardly before we begin with the reading. So, we have been on page, I think we started with the method and process of integral yoga. And we came on page 9. It's a long passage, still continuing. And the last that we touched was this paragraph. So today we have to take the lines further. And I think just to have an overlap, a continuity, let us take this paragraph as an overlap and then we take up the next few lines also. So would anyone like to read it for all of us?
Yeah, sure, I can do it.
Yeah, please go ahead.
The method we have to pursue then is to put our whole conscious being into relation and contact with the divine and to call him in to transform our entire being into his. The divine and all knowing and all affecting descends upon the limited and obscure, progressively illumines and energizes the whole lower nature and substitutes its own action for all the terms of the inferior human light and mortal activity. In psychological fact, this method translates itself into the progressive surrender of the ego with its whole field and all its apparatus to the beyond ego, with its vast and incalculable but always inevitable workings. There are three outstanding features of this action of the higher when it works integrally on the lower nature.
Yeah,
The first, yeah,
Birenji, this much is enough. Yeah,
huh,
thank you. Yeah, rest we can take up later in the next one.
sure.
Thank you. Thank you. So last time we were reflecting upon this method that Sri Aurobindo shares, that we have to become conscious of our own self and each part that we have in our being, the mental parts, the vital parts, the physical and in betweens, they all have to be offered to the higher light so that the higher light can shed its working on it. It's not that the higher light is not already working on it, but as Mother says, that collaborate so that this speedens up the process and we don't have to take many detours. So Sri Aurobindo says that for this process of integral yoga, transformation of the whole being, the thoughts, the feelings, the sense perceptions, the way of thinking, the way of feeling, why we live. For this integral transformation, the method we have to pursue, I'm just taking an overlap from the last session, then is to put our whole conscious being into relation and contact with the divine and to call him into transform our entire being to his. So something in us has to, as Sri Aurobindo says, aspire and call the higher intelligence, the higher grace. And how would I aspire? I would notice with the light of consciousness that I have, I would be able to notice that yes, there are limitations in me, there are weaknesses, there are ugly parts in me, and I would like to move beyond them and transform them into something greater. So that's where we have to be grounded, and then we aspire for the higher force. The divine and all knowing and all effecting descends upon the limited and obscure, progressively illumines. So, in stages and layers and phases, different grades, it progressively illumines as we become more and more ready, and energizes the whole lower nature and substitutes its own action, the divine action, for all the terms of the inferior human light and mortal activity. So slowly the whole way of being changes, because usually we use the word that, oh my God, I am after all a human being. So we want to say that we are limited. We say that after all I am a human being, and by that we mean that as a human being it's very natural to get hurt and feel limited. But Sri Aurobindo is saying that we don't have to settle there. We have to move beyond that limitation, and it's also our birthright. Along with that limitation, our birthright is also to move beyond those limitations and to grow progressively diviner. So this is where we had stopped. Yeah, anything anyone wants to share, any insights before we progress towards the new lines? So in this, I am reminded of a book. It's a very small little book. Many of us may be aware of it. It's called The Mother. Very little tiny pocket book by Sri Aurobindo. And it's not only tiny, it's full of richness, and the words are strikingly clear. They make lot of sense again and again. Each line vibrates with a lot of power. So on this method that Sri Aurobindo was sharing, that one has to turn progressively to the divine, each part of our being, I'm going to read a few lines, and I think it may be as a PDF also available. So I can share this book also on the WhatsApp group. It's very thin. It's like this. It's a pocket book. So here he starts with, there are two powers alone that alone can effect in their conjunction the great and difficult thing which is the aim of our endeavor, a fixed and unfailing aspiration. So this is the one thing. He talks about two things which are required. The first one is a fixed and unfailing aspiration that calls from below, and a supreme grace from above that answers. So this is what we were dealing with in these lines. And then he continues, he says, but the supreme grace will act only in the conditions of light and truth. It will not act in the conditions laid upon it by the falsehood and the ignorance. For if it were to yield to the demands of falsehood, it would defeat its own purpose. So aspiration from below, knowing that I am limited, knowing that in my activities there is suffocation, there is ugliness, I would want to move towards more and more beauty. We aspire, being grounded in that reality, knowing that that's not the only thing possible for me. I have to move beyond these limitations. It's my possibility, it's my birthright. And then the higher power, grace, he says, descends. So again, I'm just relating it because what the lines that we were reading, they are very, very resonating with these. There must be a total and sincere surrender. There must be an exclusive self opening to the divine power. There must be a constant and integral choice of the truth that is descending. So, no part in me should choose the falsehood. I should not be taking the side of my own patterns, the limitations that I have, that what can I do? This is my nature. So, no part of me should be taking the side of that limitation. He says, there must be a constant and integral choice of the truth. So I have to every moment choose the higher over the lower. And this has to be done every moment, because we slip, we forget to invoke, and the lower rules then. Because by default, it is the lower consciousness which operates. By default, because that's how the story of creation, Mother says that everything upturned into its opposite. So by default, what is there? Ignorance. By default, what is there? Darkness, ego patterns, limitations, obscurity. But where is the effort that is required? Every time I have to recognize the limitation, recognize the darkness, and aspire to move towards greater and greater light. And this has to be done each moment of our life before it becomes very habitual for us. It becomes effortless, that without that we cannot even breathe. We, as Mother says, that we feel a certain sense of uneasiness if we follow the lower consciousness. Before that, a lot of personal effort is required. And please unmute and share at any time. Yeah. So then at times what happens, that we are in two boats. We think that we want the truth, but we are taking the side of the lower nature, our patterns, desires, demands, expectations. This should happen my way. Why is it not happening my way? So although intellectually I say that I want what Mother wants or the divine wants, but still the attraction to the lower nature is too much. I'm habituated to the lower nature. So he says here, if you open yourself on one side, in one part, to the truth, and on another side are constantly opening the gates to hostile forces. So demands of the ego are hostile forces. It is vain to expect that the divine grace will abide with you. You must keep the temple clean if you wish to install there the living presence. So here we get to know the importance of constant purification, because impurities will come, just like if we don't dust and dirt our houses for a couple of days, a layer of dust accumulates, and the cleaning has to be done regularly. So just like that, we have to cleanse our inner being, state of being, regularly. It has to become a habit for each one of us. So he says, you must keep the temple clean if you wish to install there the living presence. And it is not the divine grace that you must blame for failing you, but the falsity of your own will and the imperfection of your own surrender. So if something we see that doesn't happen, the way we expected it to happen, and we think that we are surrendering, he says that we have to become conscious that my surrender is not complete. It's not that the divine grace did not work well, and hence progressively increase the surrender. So anything here, anyone?
Yes, hi.
Yes,
I
Claudia.
mean, it resonates so much with me because this week I have like 4 people that didn't arrive to to the appointment that we agree, and was like, oh my god, I was like so much disappointed. That triggers me. Like, oh, I feel pain in the stomach, and I feel like I'm not lovable from that people, don't respect it. And then I become so upset that I say I never, never going to make an appointment with these people again. And then yesterday, I again have this appointment with another person that supposed to come to a workshop with me, and arrives like 30 minutes late, in the virtual Zoom. I don't know why I was there connected, still connected, because I was hoping that this person arrives, and she arrives, and actually went very beautiful, very sweet. But actually, she was like telling me, I already know everything that you are teaching. And I was like, oh, okay, so why you are coming here? So I was feeling so frustrated, so much like, and she was she was telling me all the time, what is your agenda? And I'm like, because for me, agenda, when someone asks me like this, is like negative. and and I tell her, well, it's like I'm going to teach you this and this, and no, and if you want to donate, you can donate, but for now it's free. But I mean, it's always welcome. I mean, it was so weird. I don't understand all these lessons from the divide. I am like observing my body, and I am observing that sometimes I am very rigid. And I know that it's very important to be punctual and to be on time, and to be respectful and sweet with others and to be humble. So I don't know what they want to tell me, and this I just want to share this with you, with all of you, because I was feeling like so much like, oh God, I want to cry.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Claudia. Happens with all of us, I guess. Yeah. But it's good to observe, what you were sharing, your observations about what was going on inside. I think it's good to see where all our mind just goes, and small little trigger and the mind just goes away in the storylines and tries to, connect the dots there. So it's a good observation, how easily, yeah.
Yes. Make to observe, like I always like say, oh, that people is very bad. I always go there. And in reality they have something in the way, but I always go like to blame, like. So it's very interesting. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I think as mother shares that if you begin to enjoy what's happening inside, you would not feel any attraction towards outer circus or entertainment happens, because there's so much entertainment going on inside. Yeah, the way we are. Yes. Good to observe. Thanks for sharing. Yes. Anyone else?
I was thinking about something. I don't know if I can put it clearly, but uh, like if you're dealing with some, for example, illness or something like that, um, I understand it is positive to aim to get rid of it, like it's an impurity, it's and so on. And at the same time, you shouldn't be attached to some kind of result. You should be willing to accept whatever happens, or like take it as divine will. But at the same time, it's not the divine will for us to be ill. I sometimes find some difficult there, like acceptance of the divine will, including whatever happens to us, an illness or whatever, and at the same time, an aim to get rid of it, to be cured, like believing that the divine will is for us to overcome that. But at the same time, maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's very natural, Yuan, to have this confusion, because as Sri Aurobindo says that the limited mind, the sense mind, the logical, analytic mind with which we try to understand situations and the happenings, you can think that it's actually impossible to make sense of things. So absolutely with you. So all the inputs that I get and all the interpretations that goes on in my head, which are trying to logically analyze and put sense to everything, if we go by that way, then we are going to be boggled again and again, because the divine ways are not limited to the ways sense mind can perceive, the limited mind can perceive. So totally with the confusion that you are sharing, and that is why the importance of quietening the mind. Because when we settle down the mind, for example with a divine name or breath, we really make it settled and quiet, then whatever the insights and intuitions come, they reveal us what are the ways in which things happen, and they cannot be understood by if we actively go on trying to understand by the logical sense mind. So completely with you, when you say that this doesn't make sense and why would yeah, yeah. Yes, Taru.
Yeah, just what you Juan said, I from personal experience say if I'm experiencing something, like he spoke about illness. So what I do is that, okay, if I feel something coming or if something happened, so my first reaction is, it's like, I think it sounds big, but you know how you're constantly in touch with the mother that, oh, this is happening. Okay, mother, if there's something you want me to see through this or experience, great. But this I will reject. Kind like if I have a learning, let it stay. But my role after offering is now rejection. So, like say if I sneeze or if I'm feeling something coming, the body wants to say that, oh, you're about to catch something. You see those three people you met, they had something, but I don't then listen to that. I said, it's like, okay, those three people were suffering, but that doesn't, not suffering, matlab had got that, but that doesn't mean I will come to this. So after offering that, if there's something you want me to see, great. But my role then, my job, my effort is all directed that I reject. I reject, kind of a thing. So that helps me. So just sharing. And before that, what you were sharing, from the book, The Mother, I just want to make a small point because there's something that helped me. That lot of times when the lower nature or the old patterns take over, based on what we read, sometimes to me it felt like, I'm failing. I again let it win. I again let it win. But for me, I realized that even when you are doing it, and there's something in which there's something within you which sees that, I'm again letting this rule me, and offering it even while I'm doing it has really helped me see and give me a new path to walk on, right? Because earlier it was like, okay, I have to reject, oh, I have failed again. And that's how it used to end with disappointment and kind of questioning on the self. But now it's like, okay, I have allowed myself to be ruled again that, oh, I don't want to be here. So again, that, that constant communion as much as possible and offering that, I still haven't done it, but I want to do it. I want to do it. So just wanted to make sure that, we know that that's not the loss, that's not the defeat, because it's again, that constant effort. If it's there, it helps. It helps.
I just wanted to say that surrender in itself is a huge spectrum. Various degrees of surrender, starting from mental surrender to being surrender. When you don't have to make an effort, it just, you are in a perpetual state of surrender. But that, I think, comes with time, with practice, with constant doing of something where your being is being purified. And I think in purification itself, surrender happens. You don't have to, I feel that we don't have to, when a situation comes, then we don't have to mentally analyze it. When that, it just, there is a certain way, certain level of acceptance automatically. And when I say that, I also from within feel that when I'm using the word surrender, it is an automatic belief, trust, which howsoever we try, I mean, just as I said, that it's a huge spectrum, starting from mental, it has to start from that instrument of body, mind, to gradually just being that. So when we are making an effort through this instrument to surrender, mental, then also with that mental surrendering, there are mental questioning and mental answers which are coming from the mind, and we are trying to analyze the situation, we are trying to see, we are trying to seek answers through our mind. And I think that is also part of the journey. But as we move on, I think it just happens. A situation comes, it's there, and we become more like a witness. It's happening, everything is just happening, and surrender is there. You become surrender, and whatever happens is acceptable, because there is that, it is not your mind which is analyzing it, but it is the power within, which when awakened is accepting it, understanding it, making everything happen, fall in place. So and it's just, I feel it, everything is just taken care of. There is no question answer in the mind. Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but I'm just saying whatever's coming to my mind, because this is a very personal experience, day-to-day life, and how we are thrown into challenges in our day-to-day life. And howsoever we might say that we might want to restrict ourselves, especially in the spiritual process, I have seen that there are phases when I would want to withdraw. I don't want to interact too much with the outer world, and there is this phase of me being more into myself, trying to connect with my inner parts while I'm doing everything. But there are certain situations which just you have to indulge. It is not for any kind of recreation, but indulgence for the sake of, because the situation demands, there is a need. And those challenges are there, and then you see, and I sometimes feel so amazed that what should seem like very difficult, and it just happens, it just falls in place. It's so accepting, it's so simple, and it's so magical. Again, using that word because I so believe in it. So all we have, again coming back, that all we have to do is that we have to continue walking on this path wherever we are, with complete trust, belief, and whatever our ways are, yes, that purification of the being, and that spectrum of surrender, that we move from a mental surrender to being the surrender. So I don't know if I made sense.
Yeah, thank you so much, Priyanka. Thank you for sharing. And even if you didn't make sense, we have to go beyond the senses, so don't bother about that. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yes, thank you. Shweta, yes, please.
That was very beautiful, Priyanka. It made absolute sense. I could, like just relate and connect to you. Yeah, it reached me. I can just say that.
Thank you.
So I had just paused here, taking up the lines that we finished last time and resonating it with the lines from The Mother, the book by Sri Aurobindo. In psychological fact, this method, the method that he just shares here, translates itself into the progressive surrender of the ego with its whole field and all its apparatus to the beyond ego with its vast and incalculable but always inevitable workings. I think all of us, when we were sharing, we were almost touching upon uh, this fact that the moment we become conscious of the lower in us, even if one may be in it still, yet there is an opening that one would like to go beyond. So there is a progressive surrender of the ego in phases and layers and degrees, a progressive surrender with its whole field. And whole field, it means that we are not leaving any part of the ego untouched. We are not trying to defend any part and take its side, that it remains in the shadow and the divine light doesn't reach it. So we are progressively opening each part of the ego consciousness to the divine, its whole field and all its apparatus. So the mind, life, and the body, the thoughts, ideas, opinions, judgments, thinking patterns that we have, feeling, at the level of life, feeling energies, our energies, prana, all kind of emotions that we have. So one by one, all of these are being opened to the divine light. Body cells, the cells of the body, sense perceptions, the pains, the aches, the good feelings in the body, good sensations, all of that, slowly we open this whole field and all its apparatus to the beyond ego. Just I think few of us were sharing, just showing it, remembering the mother parallelly, remembering the divine parallelly, showing it up to the higher light with its vast and incalculable. So we don't know in what ways mother would work on this lower that we are opening. We have no clue. And it's incalculable ways in which mother can make us open in that part that we are sharing with her. Vast and incalculable, but always inevitable. So it may not happen the way we want it to happen. The limited sense mind would want light to manifest in my life, but it will happen, since the ways of divine are incalculable and inevitable. So once you have opened it up to the divine, then it's up to the divine to sooner or later do its work. And in what way the work will be done, that we don't know. So again, I think some of us were touching that in what way the manifestation of the light would happen, the transformation of my lower would happen. I have no clue. Sometimes it may happen through a pleasurable incidents, that my eyes open up further and I go beyond something that I was sticking on to. Sometimes it happens through a painful incident. Sometimes it happens through a neutral observation. So in what ways the divine would work, we don't know. Sometimes, as Taru was sharing, a cold, we may catch a cold, because for us to open up to some part, catching a cold was required. Sometimes you may be able to reject. So rejection may serve the process of the divine working. So anything is possible, and that is why Sri Aurobindo says that integral yoga is not a formula, one formula that you can put on everyone. For each one, it opens in at various centers, and it's not like Kundalini opens from below upwards. It's not like that. In integral yoga, any chakra can open anytime, whatever mother wishes for us. Whatever mother sees that, okay, for you right now it's important to open up this, so she'll open that. And right now maybe that one better remains closed. So it's not like a linear, like in Kundalini we have a linear process, like lower to higher it happens, and that has its own dangers, Sri Aurobindo shares. So in this we are very safe. Integral yoga, when we are asking, and as through an aspiration we are asking and requesting the divine light to shine on us, the lower parts, then it's a very fail-safe process. And from top to down approach, as Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about in integral yoga, it's a very safe approach because there is not any danger of remaining stuck on the lower centers. And again, on this few lines that I just read in psychological fact, this method. So this few lines I'm going to share maybe again a few lines and then take up more reflections. So since it's talking about surrender of the ego and transformation, in this book again that we were talking of, referring to the mother, he shares, if you desire this transformation, put yourself in the hands of the mother and her powers without cavil or resistance, and let her do unhindered work within you. 3 things you must have: consciousness, plasticity, unreserved surrender. Consciousness, plasticity, and unreserved surrender. For you must be conscious in your mind and soul and heart and life and the very cells of your body, aware of the mother and her powers and their working. For although she can and does work in you, even in your obscurity and your unconscious parts and moments, it is not the same thing as when you are in awakened and living communion with her. So here is the effort which is required. So mother is anyway working in each one of us, whether we know the mother or don't know the mother. The divine's working don't depend upon whether I give power to the divine. The divine is all powerful. So his job he knows. But mother says it's not the same thing as when you are in awakened and living communion with her. So this conscious collaboration that mother talks of, all your nature must be plastic to her touch, not questioning, as the self-sufficient ignorant mind questions and doubts and disputes and is the enemy of its enlightenment and change. So the mind which very tightly holds on to, I know this is how it should have happened, and something wrong if it is not happened this way. So this self-sufficient ignorant mind which believes too tightly in its opinions and rigidities, he shares that it is the enemy of its own enlightenment and change. Not insisting on its own movements, as the vital in man insists and persistently opposes its refractory desires and ill will to every divine influence. So he's saying that we every time we defend our desires, defend our ill will, and we oppose the divine influence. So that has to be taken care of. Not obstructing and entrenched in incapacity, inertia, and tamas, as man's physical consciousness obstructs and clinging to its pleasure in smallness and darkness, cries out against each touch that disturbs its soulless routine, or its dull sloth, or its torpid slumber. I think this is something which all of us have faced, that the moment the higher light wants to crack in our life, we are not ready. Many experiences have been there in our lives, that although we know this is happening for maybe expanding me and for my own growth, but we are so settled in our comfort zones and in our weaknesses that something in us repels that divine touch. Maybe later, something in me says maybe later. I know this is very important, but maybe later, because right now I have so many other things to take care of. So he says, I think beautiful words. He says that the man's physical consciousness obstructs, and clinging to its pleasure in smallness and darkness, cries out against each divine touch that disturbs its soulless routine. This boring routine that we have in our lives, that disturbs its soulless routine, or its dull sloth, or its torpid slumber. So this is again there are, one can go on reading and reading, but very shortly touching upon that, if something in me becomes conscious of this higher light wanting to enter the life, mind and the body, I think just to become conscious of the resistance in us and to observe it and not take its side, because otherwise the divine victory is certain. Things will happen, but they will happen in a way which will be maybe more painful, although good for us, but still, why to add on to more pain and suffering when we know that our birthright or the destiny is to turn fully divine? How long can I keep defending my limitations? Yeah, so anything here, anyone?
So challenging to be functional, in day-to-day life, when because it would be so confusing. Like I want to give in and surrender, but agar I have a role of responsibility wherever, in my workplace or in my family. Uh, how will I know when to surrender, or this is divine wish, or like I need to take some decision, and so that's related to my ego, right? Like if I'm in charge of something and I have to decide, or take a call, then at such times, like how would I know how to give up my ego? How do I function uh, without resistance, or like if there is a stand to be taken? I don't know. What if in that only the grace is working, for me? Like if I don't take that stand, but ethically or morally, I need to take that stand. How would I differentiate, Monica?
Yeah, I think, Shweta, first of all, we have to know that surrender doesn't mean taking a passive stance.
Huh. But yet it is part of ego, right?
Yeah. So, sorry, part of
Ego.
what is
Passive, active, whatever, but like when I am functioning in the worldly ways, it is like giving into ego only, in some way or the other.
So you said ego, and our Alexa heard eco. I'm so sorry about it. Yeah. So I think, and I would invite more reflections. What comes to me here is that it's not a complicated affair. I only have to set my intention right.
Okay.
In every little situation, for example, going to a workplace, what is my intention today? Do I want to serve for the benefit of everyone, or do I want to hold my opinion right? Very little simple difference, and then I would be actually very happy if someone says, no, I think the way you are suggesting, that is not, I feel, benefiting to the whole situation. Think about this one. So when somebody suggests me a new way which appears more expansive and vast and benefiting wherever I am working, then I'll be very happy to take it forward and not sticking to my opinion. So I think surrender is possible in each and every, I think Priyanka was sharing, each and every sphere of our life. Wherever I am, for example, I'm going to Dr. Anand Reddy, Alok Da, they make it very simple because of their devotion and faith in the mother. They say that, okay, you are going out of the house, you're, say, meeting a friend, going for a movie. Just remember, Ma, I'm going to a movie. Ma, I'm going to meet this person. So what happens is that when we remember in the beginning of a work, in the start of a work, or in the beginning of a day, mother, today a new day is beginning, I offer this day to you. And then continuously throughout the day, we remember the mother in each interaction. So then what happens, I feel, is that it purifies my intentions. Because many a times I don't have right intentions. I see that there is ill will in me. I want to prove the other person wrong. And I want to make myself right. Or maybe I want to prove, yes, this side is correct and that side is wrong. So I have my own hidden agendas. Surrender is becoming conscious of your hidden agendas and not taking their side.
Even as a parent, yeah, so now I get it more clearly, but sometimes from the point of view of safety of your children, you need to, take a call or take a decision. So I think that there also, like you said, like just surrender and let it go. Right?
I think in a surrendered state, remembering the mother, we take a decision, whatever understanding capacity we have, we take a decision, and we see that, and we are still open. I think this is where surrender helps us, that we are still open, that if situation changes and we are proven wrong, and we are proven that, okay, we were actually working from a limited understanding, then I'm ready to open up and change the decision also. So why? Because all that matters is the benefit of people, interacting or involved. So then, as Sri Aurobindo says that the mind should be vast and supple and flexible, then I'm making my mind flexible and supple. So maybe in the beginning, I took a decision that the child should not go for this camp, for example, because I feel this is not safe, right? Again, invoking, remembering the mother. But then later during the day, something changes, and now you feel that, seems like it could work. So then you change your decision, and because all that you want is the benefit of the child, that may he also, she also grow and expand in their own consciousness. So you are very happy to tweak yourself again and again, which usually we are not able to do this tweaking in the egoistic state, because we think, oh my God, I have given a word and now I will be proven wrong. So no, that doesn't come. You're very happy to step down from your previous decision when you see a larger possibility in front of you, a different one. So again, one way of taking surrender hand in hand in the daily interactions.
I feel like sometimes surrender for the ego for me is a lot of fear, because I mean, like I said before, with the experience of interchanging with human beings, sometimes it's like you feel vulnerable, like someone else is going to hurt you, is going to trespass your your boundaries or your things. And sometimes we actually, with our subconscious, make that happen. Yes. I mean, because we always thinking about it, we always say it in our subconscious. I mean, we are not conscious about it. So that is the ego and the lower parts. So then we are not really surrendered to the light completely, because we have these traumas in our past, yes, that make us holding to the ego, holding back. So I hope I explain myself, but I mostly of the time when I say I'm surrender, I feel very, very, very light and beautiful when I surrender. But when I want to make the step, like one step behind that to be surrender, I feel a lot of fear and resistance in my body, and I mean it's like this kind of taking maybe.
I feel it's such a personal journey. It's like for everyone, it's going to be like, something different how the surrender will happen. Yeah, I mean, uh, it can't be like put in clear words, I think. It's going to go back and forth. You'll understand, you'll calibrate, and yeah,
Absolutely.
and like Priyanka said, it's at a different level. That also you understand that, after all, like you see the magic, but day to day working, especially with your children, or like in workspace, to remember this, to surrender, where every moment is like it requires some action from you, some decision from you. So at such times, just I think offer it to divine and say, okay, I'm doing this. I mean, correct me, or let it not happen if it's not meant to be. I think that is the way to go. Simple thing, like, like just before the sessions is going to start, I was like, my elder child was telling me, I'm going to Delhi tomorrow evening, I'll come late. And I'm like, no, I need to tell her that, yeah, you can't be very late. So as a parent, out of safety, I'm like, I was thinking of this only while this session was going on. Is it my ego that, like, नहीं 11 नहीं बजना है 12 नहीं बजना है, so should I put my foot down ki no, you can't be so late. So that is where the question came, like when to surrender, when to like let it go, it's okay. So as a parent you need to sometimes like put some boundary. So that is where my question
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
I think I feel again, we think that we have given our life to the mother. We think, but in these little instances, we become aware that the surrender is yet not complete. So I think it's beautiful to see these fears arising, which are very common, natural. I think each one will resonate with the fear that you shared. If a child is going out and coming late, we will feel a fear the way we are. But then this opportunity gives me a very good time to offer my whole life to the mother fully. Because I feel that since we don't know the mother fully with our own limited apparatus, we don't know how powerful she is. We underestimate. Would mother not know what to be, what how to be, how a child is to be protected? Would the divine mother not know? So I feel that I can take this opportunity to see that why can't I trust the mother fully? What stops me? And parallelly, not saying that you should not take, we would not take the decisions that are required, parallelly taking whatever decision that is required, but also seeing that how this shrinking in the being happens when we want to leave it to the divine, as if the ego is doing everything. Today we had a meeting. I want to share this. We had a meeting in our community, and there are some office bearers and people who are interacting, the residents, to these office bearers who are in charge of doing certain things and taking care that the community runs in proper order. And I was in such a state of being that I could not speak a word. And one thing which appeared again and again was that in our limited, arrogant mind, we think that we are doing it. That if I I'm not on this powerful seat today, you don't know what will happen to this society, something like that. So this arrogance, human arrogance that we have, sometimes it comes in big forms and sometimes in small little forms, like if I am not taking care, there is no one to take care. I don't even know that the air I breathe every day, the breathing that happens naturally, the digestion that happens, how is that happening? Am I making it happen? So I think we have to let go. This can be, these little opportunities can be very good opportunities to let go of the doership and yet parallelly make the decisions, whatever has to be made. And knowing that mother is all powerful. And and again, as you were sharing yourself, that whatever, we have the challenge in front, continuously, consciously, just giving the responsibility to the mother. Mother is all powerful. We have no idea of the power of the divine. And we think with this limited mind, and we think that, oh my God, what if this happens? What if that happens? Would the mother not know? I know better. So this I feel that these little moments can be a very good opportunity for me to let go of this burden of doership that I'm carrying. And I still remember the time, the first time I landed up in the hospital for a surgery to be done. My children were very little. One was still breastfeeding, 7-8 months old, and the other one maybe older. And the relief I felt being in the hospital bed, that wow, I am here. I felt that I was the doer, I was the mother breastfeeding my children and being, responsible for their life. And here I am, and the children are still taken care of in whatever way they are taken care of. So I think it's a very good idea. And after that, I'm very happy, to recollect it in my memory and see that in incalculable ways of the divine workings, to take off this burden of our shoulders, that we are not the doer. Even if we die right now, all of us, the world will still go on. Our children will be still taken care of. Our orphans not taken care of. So I think this is a very good lesson in humility for me personally, to let go of the doership, and parallelly, not saying that you take a passive stance. You still do whatever benefit you can do in whatever situation we are, but knowing that I am not all powerful. All powerful is the mother, and I have, my only responsibility is to completely abandon, as Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, like a kitten, abandon yourself in the hands of the mother. That abandonment has to slowly arrive.
Is surrender equal to abandonment?
Sorry?
Is surrender same as abandonment? Living
Actually,
in
mother has referred to this example by Shri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, that one way of surrendering is to, like a little monkey clings on to the mama monkey. You're holding on, mother, not letting go of the mother. This is more effort requiring, although both ways are effort requiring. The other one is to abandon yourself in the name of the mother, with the divine name and with the divine invocation, like a kitten is held by the mother. A kitten is not holding on to the mother, the cat. She's held, and she has allowed herself to be held. So I think we have to again and again just remember. It is just a remembering that has to be done. Mother says, when mother says remember and offer. So I have to remember that I am held by the mother. And just like I am held by the mother, all the children of the mother, these infinite number of beings that we have, including my own children, who I dearly care for, they too are held by the mother. So now, where is the fear? If mother takes my breath away, okay, mother takes my breath away. If mother gives me more days to live, okay. So this kind of abandonment to the mother, has
So
to sleep.
beautiful, yeah.
Yeah,
And you know, even listening to it makes you feel so easy, na? Like
easy.
burden free.
Yes,
Matlab, you feel so light.
yeah.
Just listening gives you that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So because we forget, that's why we have to make this visualization more real for us every day. Before we are sleeping, I am held in the mother. Not even that mother is held in my heart, which parallelly we can do. I am held in the being of the mother. Even my child who sleeps next to me, he's sleeping in the mother. The child who goes out late night, where is she traveling? In the mother. And that certitude has to arise. It has to, I think there is where we have to put effort. If we want to really put an effort, if the ego wants to put effort, this is where the effort needs to be put. So that slowly all fears disappear. Yes, Sardaji.
Yeah, Monica, is this possible by practice? Because, every time we think we should not worry about our children or, very close people, but immediately, for 1 minute, it will be okay. But the second thought, the pattern continues. So maybe it is a lifetime practice. You have to keep
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And why is it a practice? Because the default is our fear.
Yes,
The
very true.
default is not faith. Since everything upturned into its opposite, the default is ignorance. That I don't even know I am held by the mother. That is ignorance. That is default. So you are right, and absolutely that each moment of life, the practice has to be there before a time comes. We don't know when, maybe in this lifetime or another, that I have to actually practice now being in fear, because with being with the mother comes very naturally to me. Until that time, one has to practice. Yes,
Beautiful.
that's what I feel. Yeah.
Thank you.
I like that practice to be in fear is very nice because I mean then you are like not afraid to have fear. Yes, it's like very different.
Yeah, very interesting perspective. Yes.
To understand surrender, I just wanted to give a very day-to-day example of learning to swim. So haven't we all seen, felt that when we are learning to swim, initially there's so much of fear of drowning that we don't totally surrender to the water, and we do drown, we fall. And I've often watched kids, little children, how naturally they play with the water. Water and children become one, they go down, they come up. And when there is a total letting go, total surrender, water supports. It allows us to float on its surface. But the moment the fear comes, that very body drowns. So, even in that, I see so much surrender, that when there is no fear, when there is a fear has been taken off, and it's not there, and you're totally letting go, water becomes, you allows you to float. And the moment we fear, we drown. So just to explain, if that makes sense, a bit, surrender.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone before we take up the next lines?
Yeah, I just want to say that personally to me, I feel that if right now where I am, if I try to understand the word surrender, I feel I'm just I mean, there's so much build up around it, and there's so much complexity somewhere around it that it feels that I'm just getting scattered. Like, is this right? Is this wrong? Is this I don't know. And I don't know, in something is happening that doesn't I don't even want to go there. Like it feels that if I go there, I don't know, there are definitions and all that could confuse me. But you know how they say that earlier it was aspiration, rejection, surrender. But then it was said that, okay, just forget everything and remember the mother. Like it was even made simpler that as many moments as you can. And I think Anand Reddy sir had beautifully touched it in that Gnostic Center conference. They're just remembering that, I love the mother and the mother loves me. Nothing else is needed. So when I have this, I don't want to wonder what the other definitions are, because it's again in the mind domain. Okay, it's like we hear sentences that people say that, but I've already surrendered, and yet this happens. So then it feels like, oh my God, that's also something that the ego picks and says that already done, checked. So I think it's very nice to probably just catch oneself and say that, yes, it must be there, but right now when I have something that I can understand, feel, be, then do I need to get into the things that sound complex but are not? And I think they're naturally happening wherever they need to happen if the communion and the if the direction is right, then that is happening. One doesn't have to keep nitpicking, okay, was it or was it not? Did I? Or, it just, I feel it takes us away from the moment rather than being there. So just small things, again, just like, okay, I do, again, how he said it, that, I love the mother and the mother loves me. So now the question comes that, do I love her? And he said that most of us don't, right? We don't. So maybe that is something that I can put my energy and focus on, because it's simple, right? Do I love the mother? So like Shweta was sharing, okay, the child is going out. Yes, I would say that, come back at this time. And knowing very, like, just maybe talking to the mother that, oh, she's going out, just, and I know you're taking care. So that day to day connection, moment to moment connection. So like you had touched upon it, the doership. So how it said, in Gita that nishkam karm. So surrendering could be just that, right? That yes, I'm doing everything, but nothing matters. Even if somebody has to get hurt, even if somebody has to be taken brutally away, just knowing that that also is leading to somewhere. So like, you had so rightly said that, what is my aim of this birth? What is my intention? Is the intention growth and evolution for myself and for everybody, even for a child who I have, like they say, my life is, I don't know, how do you say in Hindi? मेरी जान उसमें बसी है. You could say that, right, with your child, that my life is in the child. And yet knowing that the aim is not protection, the aim is not just harboring that, but it's the growth for myself, for him, for her, doing, and yet no attack, no, result is not there. Okay? I'll have faith so that I'm protected. No, the faith means I am protected. Just these small checks, moment to moment, I feel helps me keep things simple.
Beautiful.
But like you
Very
are telling,
beautiful.
I was thinking that also surrender is like surrender to the virtues of the mother. I don't remember which ones are them, but I think are 12 virtues, and they are very, like, if we have them in mind, yes, like probably love, like you say, is one of them, then this is one part of the surrender.
Yeah. I think this is very important to again and again know why we are here. What you were, Taru, you were sharing upon that if I know that the aim of my life and even the child's life, the aim of human life in general, whether it's my child or my spouse's life or whatever, is growth of consciousness. I think if that point we remember again and again, which we do try to reiterate again and again, wherever we get a chance, then everything is possible. And if, as you were sharing, I think that's very important, that if the growth of consciousness has to happen by losing a loved one, okay, allowed. If the growth of consciousness has to happen through a protected family, okay, allowed. So the only thing that matters is growth of consciousness. And at times I have actually myself also, as you were sharing, myself also experimented upon it, that I see my child right in the middle of contagion, for example. He's playing with maybe 5 children who have runny nose or whatever. Little children have runny nose all the time, and then you can't stop the play, obviously. They want to play together, and you tell the mother that, mother, if you let the child have the cold or catch the cold, it doesn't matter. It means it is needed for the journey. I have to learn something, he has to learn something. So then again, there is no place for the fear to exist, which we were talking. Once we know that for growth of consciousness, everything that the divine does is for our benefit, or done with our children who are still little younger, who we care for a lot, even they, whatever they go through, they mature, they ripen, they expand in their consciousness. And at most of the times, the way we are, expansion comes with a price. We go through pain, we go through discomfort. Many of us have ripened after going through such tragic situations. So although, why are they called tragic situations? Because we think in our ordinary human consciousness that the aim of my life is to have a settled family, have settled children, and settled job, and settled everything. So in front of that aim, when the loved one is taken away, or the house is ripped apart, appears very tragic. But in the front of aim, growth of consciousness, it appears beautiful. How amazing that you were able to do that. So I think we have to keep our inner compass aligned with this basic aim, which I'm glad that you reiterated upon, which we forget. The aim of our human life is growth of consciousness, and for that, everything is allowed. Everything is allowed.
I think along with that, simultaneously remembering that he loves me, then these things like insecurities, self-worth issues, and like again these small irritations and frustrations that Claudia was referring to, say, for example, if I could take 1 minute time in a day and imagine or feel that she's actually sitting with me and she's saying, I love you, for example, right? Different things for different persons. So then how could I feel insecure, right? She has said she loves me. And then slowly we feel that, and that's true for everybody, right? The person who I could feel that is not doing the right thing, maybe to me, but mother loves her too. So there has to be a place for that. So just still maybe getting frustrated on the surface, yet knowing in the heart that there's place for it all, right? Like growth of consciousness, and she loves me. Growth of the consciousness, and she loves me, right? She will do what I need because she loves me. So just it helps in having that, that strength that, yes, it's like the wind below your wings, like, so that you can, yeah.
And this conviction comes with constant practice, with constant reminder, constant, every day, every minute, every moment, as and when we can remember. Because when we are thrown into a challenging situation, our own reaction, what is the inside story going on in the head, in the whatever, what is our reaction to a situation? That in itself is a test of our surrender. Because if we are anxious, which we are, if there is so much fear, which there is, then that intensity of our being anxious, the intensity of our having the fear, and then our outer expression, whichever way we are reacting, it tells us our own level of surrender. So, what to do now? If that is what it is, that is it. But it's not that it cannot be changed. It can be, if we work on ourselves. And as it has been constantly being talked about right from the beginning, that Monica or Taru has been, and everybody has been talking about, that it every minute, whenever we are in an agitated mood or a situation where it doesn't seem acceptable, we don't want it, it's just the opposite way of, it has happened, this is not what we expected, and it's making us feel fear, angry, agitated, anxious, depressed, unhappy, sad, whatever. Then all we have to do is to just remember that divine power and bring it down. And maybe in that moment it might not, because our anxiety, our that state of mind is so strong, it's so much, we are in the grip of that it might not change instantly in that moment. But if we hold on to it, then there will be a moment that our own being starts settling down. There is a peace which we bring within ourselves. And with this constant practice, we establish our own being in that peace. And even when challenging situations come, we become more like a witness. We know that it is something that is there, and there is that acceptance too. Howsoever, even if there is something bad, as we perceive it as bad, then the badness and the goodness, there's dualities. I mean, of course, we are all live in dualities. I mean, if we wouldn't, then we would be all enlightened. But then this is a journey that, there are various gradations of these dualities also. But wherever we are in our journey, we have to constantly keep holding on to that power, and keep practicing it every day, every minute, every moment, whenever we can remember. And I think transformation has to happen. At that moment it is happening, and it will go on happening. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think maybe we can almost wind up here, and we have enough to work upon already. So before we end, I would leave everyone, including myself, with a few words again from the book. If you follow your mind, it will not recognize the mother even when she is manifest before you. If you follow your mind, it will not recognize the mother even when she is manifest before you. Follow your soul and not your mind. Your soul that answers to the truth, not your mind that leaps at appearances. Trust the divine power, and she will free the godlike elements in you and shape all into an expression of divine nature. So just knowing that we don't have to trust our mind that much the way we usually do. And as has been extensively already discussed, just to bank upon the divine completely.
This is from which book, Monica?
Sorry?
Which book?
It's a very small little book by
Mother,
Sri
yeah.
Aurobindo, The Mother.
Yeah, I have it. I have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say, Yuan is like really looking unwell. I wanted to send wishes. Take care, Yuan. I think थोड़े से he seems to be like little unwell. So
Acha.
I'll just
So I think maybe we leave today here, although we have not taken up many lines today, but I think it's okay to have whatever we have today. Enough has been already shared in all richness. So we will begin from this bigger paragraph next time then on page number 9.
And could you also share this, Monica? This was very, very beautiful. Could you just put it in the WhatsApp group also?
Yes,
What you just
I think I'll put the whole book. I may have the PDF. It's a small little.
Oh, wonderful.
I'll put the whole book on the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thank you for joining.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.